Hello and welcome to Buddhist Door Global's weekly news highlight. I'm Dr. Justin Whitaker, Senior Correspondent for BDG. This week we highlight the news that Afghanistan's Mays Aynak archaeological site is once again threatened by mining interests. We'll have a look back at recent BDG coverage of this historical Buddhist site along the Silk Road, but first the news. Negotiations between Afghanistan's new Taliban government and China's state-owned China Metallurgical Group Corp, or MCC, and its publicly listed subsidiary are underway over the resumption of mining activity at the Mays Aynak Logar copper project, media sources report. A Chinese delegation is scheduled to travel to Kabul later this month at the Taliban's invitation to discuss the mining project, which is based on a deal signed with Afghanistan's previous Western-backed government in 2007. The copper project is located in a barren region of Afghanistan's Logar province, some 40 kilometers from the capital Kabul. According to Afghanistan's Ministry of Mines and Petroleum, the site is home to the world's second largest copper deposit, reportedly representing an estimated reserves of 5.5 million tons of high-grade copper ore. Mays Aynak means little source of copper in Pashto. However, the mining site is also home to one of the world's most significant archaeological excavations, the ancient settlement of Mays Aynak, once a city on the fabled Silk Road network of trade routes that facilitated the exchange of commodities, cultures, and spiritual traditions across the ancient world. This remarkable historical treasure trove, which French archaeologist Philippe Marquis described as, quote, probably one of the most important points along the Silk Road, includes more than 400 Buddhist statues, stupas, and a 40-hectare monastery complex, along with forts and a citadel spread over 19 separate archaeological sites. In 2007, the administration of then-President Hamid Karzai granted a 30-year mining lease to MCC for $3 billion, the largest foreign investment and private business venture in Afghanistan by any country. MCC had planned to extract more than $100 billion worth of copper that lies directly beneath the ancient city. However, various factors at the time, among them a decline in the market price for copper and a deteriorating security situation, led to repeated delays on the extraction, originally scheduled for January 2013, which would mean the complete destruction of the archaeological site. Following the retreat of the American and Allied military forces from Afghanistan last year, the survival of Afghanistan's ancient and irreplaceable cultural heritage once again hangs in the balance. Meanwhile, dozens of Chinese mining companies have reportedly expressed interest in inking deals for a host of resource extraction opportunities across Afghanistan. The Taliban's eagerness to establish economic ties with China's industrial giants and its history of intolerance and cultural destruction have done little to instill confidence. From 1996 to 2001, Taliban forces attacked and looted museums and libraries, while banning almost all forms of culture and artistic expression. In 2001, the Taliban famously destroyed two 6th century Buddhist statues at Bamiyan and numerous statues and artifacts in the National Museum in Kabul. Over the course of the last 20 years of war and turmoil, countless cultural properties have been destroyed or removed from the country, and many cultural leaders fear that more irreplaceable monuments to the region's distant past could be lost. Meanwhile, provincial officials in Logar say that preparations have already been made for the reopening of the Mays Aynak Logar copper project. The tragedy of this clash of civilizations was highlighted in heart-wrenching detail in the 2014 documentary Saving Mays Aynak by Brent Huffman, an associate professor at the Medill School of Journalism at Northwestern University. Saving Mays Aynak centers on the remarkable race against time by Afghan archaeologist Kadir Temouri to save the 5,000-year-old site near the border with Pakistan, which has so far only been partially excavated. Some experts believe that future discoveries at the site could have the potential to redefine the history of Afghanistan and even the history of Buddhism itself. Aside from the remarkable and extensive remains of an ancient Buddhist settlement that dates to the Kushan Gandhara period, roughly contemporary with the Roman Empire and China's Western Han Dynasty. Further archaeological evidence points to civilizations in the area flourishing as early as the 3rd century BCE. Discoveries at the site include items that point to an ancient monastic cult that revered Siddhartha Gautama before he was enlightened, as well as manuscripts mentioning the presence of troops led by Alexander the Great. Maze Aynak would qualify as a World Heritage Site if the government of Afghanistan were to apply for that status, said archaeologist and UNESCO advisor Tim Williams in 2017. Buddhism has played a significant role in shaping the history and culture of what is now Afghanistan, flourishing in the kingdoms that lay on the Silk Road trade routes with Central Asia. A wealth of ancient Buddhist stupas, monasteries, caves, images of the Buddha, and other artifacts attest to this history, ancient and deeply rooted heritage. Ashoka's territorial expansions, coupled with the Greek influences in the mid to late 4th century BCE, led to a unique cultural melting pot that saw the first known statuary emerge in Gandhara, considered by many to represent the pinnacle of Buddhist art. Over the past several years, BDG has covered the complex and dynamic history of Mesa Aynak, both in news and feature articles. In one of those, our correspondent Ludmila Klasanova details the history of several sites in Afghanistan and the hopes and fears of archaeologists in the region. In particular, she looks at the stupa at Shewaki in Afghanistan, a site that she says, quote, remains as a symbol of peace and light in a time of ongoing war. As always, we will have links to this week's main story and recent coverage of Buddhism and in Afghanistan in the video description. Use the comments below to let us know what you think about the hope that Buddhist heritage might survive in this imperiled country. And as always, be sure to check out our website, buddhiststore.net, for more on this story, as well as other news and features about Buddhism around the world.